Just a few concluding remarks. First, as a chairperson of the governing board, let me tell you that this for us, for the governing board, it is a very important event. And it seems to me that it has been a very successful event. We shall see your evaluations, but this is my hunch. And the idea is, or the idea has been, to highlight the Foundation 4-year program, because this is what we have just done. We adopted the 4-year program for 2013-2016, and the title of the program is From Crisis to Recovery, Better Informed Policies for a Competitive and Fair Europe. And that's why we thought that it would be good to reach out to people from outside of the foundation. And indeed, in this room, I see many faces whom I normally don't see at foundation conferences or foundation events. So this is very good that we have been successful in doing this. We have also been successful, it seems to me, in attracting the attention of important policymakers, because, as you know, the mission of the foundation is not to tell the policymakers what to do, but to give them informed, well-founded information on what works, what doesn't work, what are the possibilities that they might want to use in order to resolve the problems, social and the employment problems at hand. And we had 3 Irish ministers here. We had Laszlo Andor. We had other high-level representatives. Also, want to thank the presidency, the Irish presidency, for the tremendous contribution to this event. Without that, it wouldn't be possible. This venue has been provided to the foundation by the Irish presidency. 3 ministers have found their time to come here and tell us about the realities of social change and social policy reform in Ireland. Now about the priorities of the Irish presidency, and also about the Irish position on and priorities on international issues, for instance, human rights. So we are really grateful for that. It is really an outstanding effort, an outstanding contribution on the part of the Irish presidency. And that's the end as a chair. Now, a few comments, because I don't have. Oh yeah, one last comment as a chair. We will, of course, evaluate very closely the results of this effort, because we believe that this will be an intellectual stimulus, the discussion that we have had over these last 2 days, to translate that into our annual program, so that the annual programs better reflect what lies really at heart of the European citizens and European policymakers and the social partners, and also the civil society organizations present here. Now, as one of the participants who was allowed to speak at the end of the conference, not as a chair, I have a few perhaps reflections of what I have retained personally from this forum. First of all, I want to return to yesterday's opening salvo that has been fired by the 2 professors, Professor van den Broeke and Professor Balcerowicz, because I think that they have done what they have been asked to do, and that is to set the stage. And you might get an impression that they not necessarily agreed on how to deal with the issue, but I think that there was a common thread in their presentations, and that was the question of the importance of prudent leadership. And if you look, because we need prudent leadership, especially now that as the minister said a few moments ago, our social model is under stress, because it is an important part of Europe, and we do have, I believe, agreement on the key values behind the social model. But because of the crisis, we need to change it. We need to reform it. And I want to remind everybody, something which we may forget, that this issue of modernization of the European social model has been on the agenda of the European Union since the Lisbon strategy. This was one of the priorities. So we have already gone a long way, but not enough. And this deficiency in prudent political leadership is something that really is the common thread that is linking all these various interventions and fora and panels throughout this forum, in my judgment. And of course, Professor Balcerowicz was telling us that the most important things are the fundamentals, that social policies are not isolated, that they have to be seen in the broader economic context. So he was talking about making Europe more competitive in order to be able to then redistribute more intelligently, which was the main line of Professor van den Broeke. And also the issue of, at which level we should show that prudent leadership. They had, I think, well, not exclusive, but complementary views. Balcerowicz stressing this issue that we need to start at home, we need to do our homework, and Professor van den Broeke saying, but yes, but there is also a role for Europe. There is also this European dimension that needs to be taken into consideration if we want to really make more intelligent and long-lasting changes in our social policies. And then the next line that I will remember was from this World Bank presentation, Mr. Ferreira, about the middle class buying electricity generators in Honduras, and thus kind of bailing out from the social sphere because the social sphere, the state, does not deliver. This is this issue of trust, the issue of leadership. And that immediately reminded me about a book very recently published by Tony Judd, The Ill Fares the Land. And the title comes from a poem which goes like this: Ill fares the land, to hastening ills a prey, where wealth accumulates and men decay. And Tony Judd's line was about the lack of trust of the middle class in the social model. And this is one of the issues that has been discussed here extensively, because the social model has been really sustained, and the bedrock of the social model is really the middle class. And there is a danger that it will be abdicating from that, and it will be renouncing that trust because it is not delivering. So even more, we need prudent political leadership. And that was an important, I think, for me, issue which transpired in the breakout session in which I participated, which was about the issue of whether the crisis is an opportunity for structural reforms. And from that breakout session, I very well remember the intervention by Professor Günther Schmidt, who is the co-author of the heart reform, and he was telling us how it has been implemented and about the vicissitudes of those reforms. He is not entirely happy with the outcome, but for me it was important that they have done it. And they have done it at the time, not waiting until the crisis struck, but when the economy was in stagnation. And that is why they were able, with all the shortcomings, he knows much more about the intricacies of the Hartz reform. But for me, what is important is that Angela Merkel sings Chancellor Schroeder, former Chancellor, sings him praise, that he had done it instead of her, because he had paid a high political cost for prudent political leadership. And the last point that I want to make is about Laszlo Andor's today's intervention about the about this new initiative, the Social Investment Initiative, which, if you think about it, from what we could listen, from what we could hear from Laszlo Andor, really puts together all these good ideas that have been accumulated over the years since the Lisbon strategy, since this issue of the modernization of the European social model has been first introduced. It is putting it together and trying to create a package in which I think the main line is coordination. It's exactly what you have been talking about here in various aspects. I mean, that social policies are not isolated. They have to be seen in the context of broader economic policies, and that there is an important role for the European level in order to prompt the governments to better coordination of their own policies, and perhaps encourage them by efficient and intelligent use of European funds. This is a very ambitious and I think very well crafted approach. We shall see the details. I only can hope that we will have in our European member states enough political will, prudent political leadership in order to make this happen, because if you really want to integrate policies, if you want to really deliver on this integrated approach, you have to step on many people's toes. You have to overcome, I'm not even talking about entrenched interest, but you have to overcome bureaucratic inertia. You have to overcome all those ills of big organizations, because governments are big organizations, and everybody knows how difficult it is to really quickly redirect or reprioritize what they are doing. So let's hope that we will find enough strength to do this. And and I'm finishing on my favorite line, what is perhaps making it more possible this time than before is that there is no cookies in the cookie jar anymore. I mean, we don't have any other choice. So perhaps we will make not a panic choice, but we will have an intelligent choice in the end, and or choices, because we know how different countries differently approach their problems. But and that the European level will be helpful in giving us this direction. And how what we have been discussing here, how we will try to translate it into annual programs of the Eurofound to fulfill its mission to give the European constituents, but also policymakers, intelligent advice. I think Erika Metzger will explain this. Where do we go from now? So thank you very much. Now I'm again as a chair of the governing board. To all the participants, it has been a time well spent, a very fascinating event, and thank you again to the Irish Presidency.